Can we just ask you, broadly speaking, what have you made of the football championship so far this year? The Tailteann Cup's coming up this weekend. The All-Ireland series is coming up. Obviously, we've got the Leinster final and the Ulster final this weekend. Have you been excited with what you've seen so far?
Naturally, at the start of every championship, it sort of starts off slow, but there's been some great games. In Ulster, the Tyrone and Monaghan and Derry was very open. There was a lot of scores. There were a lot of opportunities. Something that we haven't seen over this last couple of years. There's an awful lot of goal chances for both teams, which is great to see. From our own point of view, the Ulster Championship hasn't been kind to us over this last number of years. We probably had an easier section. So, we won the 3 games. People have said the opposition was poor. You always have to beat whoever's there. But the beauty of any championship, the more games you play and the more you win, let it be scraping through or a good win, the better you get. The confidence grows in every match. So we're in the final now. There's going to be a good few matches coming up. It's going to test everybody. This new sort of game plan, you sort of know who's going to be there at the end. You can name 5 or 6 teams because the strongest teams always get there. There was one thing that struck out to me about a month ago on TV when some of the pundits were talking about, I think it was Paul Flynn. He says a lot of the bigger teams will set their stock out to be primed for the last 8. Now, Dublin might have that luxury and Kerry might have that luxury and other teams, but, up in Ulster, we don't have that luxury. You have to take every game as it comes and you have to win every game because the day you think you're going to win is the day you could be caught. So, but you will have a lot of familiar faces. And the Tailteann Cup, I think last year's tournament was absolutely brilliant. Some of the games were great. You've seen what happened Westmeath when they won it. It was a good final. It gives a county a great lift. I always believe you're better winning something than winning nothing. When players have something to play for, you get more out of them. So I think this year the Tailteann Cup will be better because there's a lot of good teams in there just dropped down off the edge of the top 15 or 16 in the country. So hopefully that'll be a good success as well this year.
Michael?
Yeah, Joe, just on even Armagh this year, probably a disappointing kind of finish to the league. I'd say you're happy enough how they've kind of bounced back and got the wheels could have came off the wagon a small bit there, but they've done what they would have been expected to do, I suppose. They've gotten through to an Ulster final when maybe there was some question marks after getting relegated from Division 1.
Well, second, there's always going to be question marks, but it was very disappointing to drop down from Division 1 because that's where you want to be every year. Armagh put a lot into the league the last couple of years. We got off to a good start last year, and we're unlucky this year. With a bit of luck, we could have been in the playoffs. There was only 3 or 4 points, 3 points separate, and we lost the matches we lost. We only lost by a point or 2, and that was the same last year. So it proved we're able to stay or equal the teams at that. But just those games got away from us, and I just hope we learned. We lost by 1 or 2 points, whereas I'd be hoping this Sunday we take the handcuffs off and go for it. But there's one thing that seems to be with us this year, and that is maybe a wee bit of luck. And any team that's ever going to win it needs a wee bit of luck. We're starting to score goals, and the goals are coming from a wee bit more direct play. I remember a wise man told me a long time ago, Sean Biden, he says, if you're going to make mistakes, make them in their full back line, not in your own. So that means you get the ball, kick it in early, and move it fast. And we are actually play better, look better, and make more chances when we are a wee bit more direct. We have the men in there in Rian, Andrew Monaghan and Conor Turbot. With that inside lane, if you've them 2 big boys in there and Turbot coming at speed, you look at Kerry and you look at Galway and you look at the teams you think are going to be there, Dublin, when they get that ball inside, you've men coming at speed all the time, breaking the lane. So I hope that we have the handcuffs off a wee bit more this weekend, and Derry have showed there is a bit of a weakness there in the full back line, that there's goals being scored. To have the luxury, or maybe it's not a luxury, that they had to take Brendan Rodgers from full back out to midfield, and now they have probably the best midfield partnership in the country there. So midfield is going to be a big block for us if we can't break even.
This is a left field question, Joe, but you're talking about luck there. In your own time as a manager, can you remember any particular slice of luck that you got in a game, or something that happened totally against the grain? Is there anything that stands out?
I was lucky to get the job.
Good man.
The semi-final against Dublin, the best forward in the country, missed a 30-yard free kick. You know what I mean? So, you know, the wind goes either way. That can go over the bar. We can drop our heads and think, here we go again, and lose the replay. But it hit the post, and most important of all, we got the ball to come off the post. We were waiting for it. We always told the boys, every ball, every shot you take is going to hit the upright or going to hit a post. And poor Francie, slow and all as you might be, he got the ball and got it out the job, Mac. So there's always a wee bit of luck.
It's a lick of paint, isn't it? Like sometimes a lick of paint goes in your favour, the ball drops that way, and you're All Ireland champions. You're only ever All Ireland, like small things.
But you look at Oisin with the penalty. You know what I mean? Unless the men went home and got a taxi at half-time and went home, and Oisin went out and scored 1-2, 1-3, scored a goal through Dave and Needle. You know what I mean? Darrell Shea still complains he should have took him out, but another day's work. But no, it can go either way, and it lifts the team. Then you know what I mean. So,
Joe, can you quite believe it's been 15 years since Armagh have been in a provincial final? That was for Mana, and it went to a replay and all.
Yeah, I had 4 sons played that day in the final.
Which is amazing. Actually, what was that like for you as a father watching on?
It's great, but you know there's awful pressure on the boys. You know, you can win All Ireland for everybody else's child, but you can't win it for your own. That's just the GAA way. But it's been too long. You know what I mean? There again, Ulster's that hard. You know what I mean? You really, really have to be up for it for the first game. And when it was straight knockout, you know, I think you're better sometimes that you're up for it and you have to be up for it. But now with these 2 or 3 games, you get back in, and you know, everybody's head's different. And if you have 2 or 3 boys with their head thinking, I'm sure if we lose, you know, we have a chance of getting back in. But it's harder to get back in.
And like when you think that last week the Munster final and the Connacht final were on, the teams that won those and are going into the All Ireland series, or even the teams that lost as well, all 4 of those teams, they even have an extra week on the teams that are playing this weekend. So straight away going into the All Ireland series, which is a different day's work, I know, because it's all about the Ulster final. But like you're at a disadvantage straight away in terms of the amount of time you have to prepare. Yeah,
and if somebody picks up a small injury, you know, and dead leg, a week makes an awful difference. But there should be the championship matches are so important. There should be 2 weeks between every round, one way or the other. They shouldn't be forcing it through. And you know, they're trying to get it over early. It suits the clubs. Wait a second. I think this whole process hasn't suited the clubs. But you know, rushing it for the matter of a week or 2 more, give them the proper break. We are amateurs. We behave like professionals. But why force them? Like 5-6 matches in a row is a lot of stuff for boys that have to go home and do a bit of work, or you know, it's hard. And if you get that wee niggle, you're trying to save yourself in training. You're trying not to show that you have a bit of a knock because you want to play the following week. 2 weeks is ideal, and we should have kept it religiously to every 2 weeks.
Is there any particular matchups?
Could have mixed it up.
Are there any matchups you're looking forward to in Derry against Armagh this weekend?
There's a lot. In fairness to the Derry management and listening to the Derry players seem comfortable no matter where they are on the field. And listening to Michael Murphy, who I think now is the best pundit in the game. Brilliant. I think he simplifies things. A pundit's job is to let the people on the street or those watching on TV know what's happening and what way the game is going. And he tells you things that doesn't jump out at you. And the fact that he was able to simplify and say, wait a second, Derry have targeted 2 of their best forwards to get them into the defence, to make them look vulnerable and make us look good. And they got 1-3 from those 2 things. You know, and that's not being critical of the two great forwards. Conor McMahon is one of the best forwards. But, you know, I mean, somebody else isn't working hard enough when you're putting that responsibility on a man that isn't. You know, I think there's all out zone defence, and you know, a lot of boys mark space and don't see the man with the ball is always the danger man, and if I miss him, it's up to somebody else to get to him and get him stopped. So you know, I mean,
yeah. It's funny you say about Murphy there, Joe. One of the main reasons Murphy noticed that in particular is because Derry would have targeted him last year as well. I remember when Rodgers put him on the back foot, and it was almost like when Philly marked Gooch in that 15 final and decided this lad's an unbelievable forward. I'm going to make him defend for nearly the whole game, like, you know.
Yeah, but you know, that's up to the other players. Somebody else should take up Brendan Rodgers for Michael Murphy. If Michael Murphy had stayed full forward, Derry or Donegal would have won that match. It's when he went out of the game, the fear for Derry went out of the game, that they had them playing on their rules. And that's why I hope this weekend that the likes of Rian, Andrew Monaghan and Conor Talbot, if they're playing, hopefully they'll all be playing, that they will stay inside the opposing 50. And that leaves 12 men behind the ball inside their 50. If we can't get a hand on somebody, or if the goal's on, Sean O'Neill used to say, if the house is down, take them down. Give away free. You better do that than open up a goal play. But there's 12 men behind the ball inside the 50. Somebody's not working hard enough. And by the way, if you leave those 3 men up and their full back, they have to leave 3 men with them. And the goalkeeper mightn't be as keen at coming out. If he comes out to the middle of the field and went for a ball with Rian O'Neill at centre half forward, you know who's going to win that ball. Yeah. And the one them defenders will not want is space. And there's going to be space up there if Derry do what they do all the time, an all-out attack. You got to take the chance. You win. A ball goes wide, or they get a score. Quick kick out, bang! You're in there 30-yard line.
Yes, Joe, I can't imagine what you were like in the dressing room, because you're there. The second you're talking about Armagh, your blood pressure is going off. It's a small man.
But I love to see the game played well. Yeah. And some you'll be this, what took me here? And then you'll see somebody winning a ball, beating a man, instead of looking around and saying, can I go forward now? That's what they're actually doing. And somebody puts up the hand, you know what's going to happen now. They're all going to start it all over again. You know what I mean? Yeah. Playing off the cuff is what made great players. Great players all here in both sports. It's what they did in a situation that they shouldn't have done it. They had won a game. It was inspirational. It changed the history of a club or a county for all time because of what they done. You know what I mean? Brilliant. Brilliant.
Can I just ask you, Joe, you mentioned there about someone else should attract Brendan Rodgers for Murphy. Would you have had many times throughout your managerial career where you have different rules for certain players? Rules like where, just say you have Oisín McConville, and say, Oisín, we don't want you making these silly runs back in defence or anything like that. We want you up here. Would there be many different players that you would have had certain rules for, shall we say?
Well, it's not certain rules. I didn't make the rule, but you didn't like going to the gym. But Oisín's work rate was unbelievable. For a fella that was late, you would see him tackling back. Good players see danger and know what to do. I think we've become a wee bit too robotic, and we forget what we should be doing to win the game, instead of the game plan's great until something goes wrong. Somebody slips, misses a tackle. Well, I stay with this man because I don't want him to give my man the ball. Go and get to him. The nearest man, go and get to him. Or somebody come back that is within the vicinity. You know what I mean? I think we make it very hard for ourselves sometimes. It's simple. The man with the ball is the danger man. Let him be coming out of the defence or coming out or breaking the lane to get a score. He's the man that has to be the pressure put on. And the first thing you do, is stop him. You get in front and you stop him. And if he can't get past you, there's only one way he can go, and that's back the way. So if he goes back, you have somebody else coming in. And Tyrone were brilliant at that. When they got somebody stopped, they smothered you, and then they had you. But be alert, see where the danger is, and always cover your teammate. You hear so many boys saying now, Jesus, I was waiting for the help. It's my fault, but I'm waiting for the help. It's the game.
It does allow a bit of a cop-out. Do you know, in terms of Rian O'Neill, at what stage, because obviously you would have known him from Crossmaglen early days. At what stage did you know, geez, we have a bit of a talent on our hands here?
About 12 or 13.
Yeah? What were you seeing?
Oh, yeah. He was just at that natural balance that he laid it over the ground. He could catch the ball. He could check it. Like, this is a lad that kicked the ball, and his brothers, they kicked the ball up and down the street in their own yard or on the field here every day of the week, 7 days a week. And you'd go to matches and their eyes was glued on the match. They went running around messing like some kids do at a young age. They were totally enhancing the game and watching some player that they wanted to replicate when they went home or when they played. But no, he was just a natural player that you could see. Like, he has everything. There's very few players could play centre half back, midfield, centre half forward, or any one of the 6 forward positions, and Rian can do that. Unfortunately, at times, Because then you become, when you're that mobile and you're that versatile, you become the sticky plaster sometimes. Oh, there's a problem in the midfield, full back line, and you put him in everywhere. The likes of him is most feared. Michael Murphy, the Bomber Liston, you name them all. Ronan Clark, inside 30 yards from the goal is where they are most feared. So keep them up there.
And like, if you were to then look at Shane McGuigan on the other side, the threat that he is, I mean, where would you rank him in terms of some of the best inside forwards going?
Well, he somebody's coming to have a great year, and then whatever happens, the cockiness, stop doing the work or whatever. But Shane this year is probably better than he was last year, and that's what you're looking for. When the ball's coming up, and it used to be the same with Oisín. Oisín mightn't touch the ball for 15 minutes, but every time the ball would come, he'd say, "Give it to me, give it to me." There's no hiding places with these good forwards. They want the ball all the time. They want to score every score. They'll let it be free kicks or whatever. Or as far as his work rate at tackling, he reminds me of Oisín that way, that he comes back all the time and he'll help out. But that's what they do. But when it matters most and the pressure's on, you want somebody to take that kick or go for the score. Like Derry last year at times, everything they got inside 20 yards, they were scoring goals. It was just bang, 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 bang. So they are ruthless in their finishing. And that's one of the worries you'd have this weekend.
So, like last year, one of the things I would have said about Derry was that, especially in the game against Galway in the All-Ireland semi-final, number one, they were afraid to drop it into the mixer, and the Galway goalie had looked a little bit shaky in the game beforehand. And the other thing also was, Oran Lynch seemed to be the only one with the nerve to take on a shot. They weren't going over, but he was like, they were refusing shots. Whereas this year against Monaghan in particular, there was lads popping him over from 45 yards, no bother. Conor Glass, Paul Cassidy. So would you say that they've developed in terms of shooting from distance?
Oh, without a doubt. The goal chances are not going to come the same way every week. And then the frustration sets in that you go so far, the ball's overturned and you keep going back. But if you can pop it out, and they have men comfortable hitting the ball from 40, 50 yards, well, that's like the opposing defences. What do? We have to push out. You push out, you open the space so they can pop it in and the goal chances will reappear. But if you're attacking and looking for goals and they're not coming and they're hitting you on the break and getting a few scores, that's when the frustration and you're looking at defeat then.
And where will this game be won, do you reckon, and who will win it?
Wait a second, that's a good question. There's one thing that's sort of jumping out of me. This Derry team players have won All-Ireland Minor, Ulster and All-Ireland Minor. They've won under 20. They've won Ulster Club Championships and the senior and club. The club was beaten early in an All-Ireland Club final early in the year. We don't have anybody on our team that played in big matches like that. And that's the confidence and the belief you get from playing in those big matches. You're able to cope with them. You're equal or better than the teams that you're playing. And that's the only worry that I have, that in the heat of the moment, if we don't do things right, will we lose our composure or will we stand up and say, right, this is our day? And wait a second, I'm not saying that, but when you have players who've gone through and have a winning mentality together, a lot of those boys have come through together and have won all those trophies and played in Croke Park and won big games. That's the only worry I'd have. And the second thing is round the middle of the field, that Derry, are comfortable in that space, and their defence must be okay when they can take Rodgers out to the middle of the field. But again, on the negative side for Derry, Monaghan opened them up. There's not a team in Ireland good under the high ball, and we don't. Now to kick it in straight after a very slow and laborious attack, it doesn't work because there's too many bodies in there. But if you can get it in there when there's 2v2, when you break from our half-back line to their half and just lob a couple in, then you need to have men in there. And sometimes we don't have men in there. We got to leave 3 men up today on Sunday, inside their 50. Say Rian, Murnahan and Turbot. Those 3 men. Turbot coming off the shoulder. But if we get it into them 2v2, there'll only be one winner. You know what I mean? So that's when we can open them up. But their strengths is their comfortability with each other, targeting people like they did a couple of weeks ago, and their scoring power when they get into the right positions.
Michael, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, do you think, Joe, just what you mentioned about the high ball there, do you think that's actually like that we could go back to the future a small bit and that teams aren't maybe working on that as much, that if it's played correctly, if it's that lovely diagonal ball played at speed when the defence isn't set up, that there's still plenty of hay to be made in that regard?
Well, without a doubt. But the only way that works is if you get the ball out early. And you won't get it out early unless you've left 2 or 3 men up the field. Yeah. Some man is going to have to be brave and take it and say, here, boys, this is what we're going to do. The players are going to have to fall in and believe. And all it takes is to win one match doing that. And the belief in your team will turn overnight.
If you won an All-Ireland doing that, Joe, everyone would be doing it the year after.
But wait a second. Somebody's going to do it. Somebody's going to. And that means that you sort of work out how to defend without 15 men, pushing up. All the goalkeepers are pushing up now behind the defenders to block us all in. But if we leave 3 men in the forward line, they have to leave 3 back. They're not. Wait a second. One score will end all that. And the one thing defenders do not want is space. Now, I come out of our defence and I get the ball on the wing. I look up and there's nobody there. The hand goes up. But I come out of, if I can break the lane and hit a 50-yard pass down right or left wing, and we have 2 or 3 men up there, panic. Just panic. I'm telling you, the manager, one score doing that, and they'll go back. So then you're not under the same pressure coming out with the ball. And all you have to do is hit it 50 yards either way. And your man knows where it's going, and he's going to be out in front.
Do you like the Ethan Rafferty tactic?
That's a no, Joe. There's no.
Talk to Wiki bum time. Wiki bum time ever he gets. Wait a second. He puts fear into the opposition. But a big man like him can be stopped. An acute tackler who breaks the ball off him and the house is down. He scores the odd point. He should be playing midfield. He can catch a ball with anybody. That's right. I would love to see him out midfield. But to answer the question, I'd be worried with goalkeepers coming out doing that.
Should cost Derry last year.
That's right. All it takes is one chance, and the harm's done.
Would you have let Benny Tierney out there?
Well, knowing Benny, the edge of the square was the limit.
So, Joe, in a word, who's going to win this weekend?
I think it'll be very close. I'm hoping the bookies will tell you Derry's favourites, but I'm hoping that we can continue on our upward spiral. I think there's goals in us now which weren't coming during the league, and I think the further we go, the better we're going to get. It'll be tight, but I think there'll only be a point or 2 in this, and hopefully it'll be Armagh.
Myself and Michael,
experts there. I'm doing a thing for my son for his school. They use 2 experts. What do you think the scores are going to be? Connor or Shane, you go first there.
Lovely. Come on, Joe, Mike.
In Armagh, Derry this weekend?
Yeah.
I'm going to go with...
I won't go on Facebook afterwards, but
I'm going to go Armagh 2-9, Derry 1-8. I'll try and keep you sweet by saying Armagh will win.
Shane, come on, 2-9 to 1-8.
Look, you have your chance there.
Every man's entitled to his opinion.
Every man's entitled to his opinion, Joe, even if it's blatantly wrong.
Right.
I'll go with Derry 115, Armagh 113. And how much, whatever this costs, Joe, I'll revolute you on a couple of euro after, all right?
That's all right. Don't worry. I put down 212 Armagh, 114 Derry. So,
good man. Okay.